Greetings, adventure travelers and fellow keepers of the lake. How are you all doing? Welcome. This would be the third video in the series about prop making and bleeding the game world into the real world, something I'm greatly passionate about. So if you haven't watched the first two videos, I will put the links in the description, but they're not required for you to watch this one. This one will go into prop making that is a bit more time consuming and a bit more complex than the previous videos. So if you're just looking for something that is easy and cheap, go watch those two first. And I've been filming all three at the same time. The chaos in this room is unimaginable. So I did post behind the scenes of that on the Discord server. And yes, we now have a Discord server, which I hope will be the bastion of creative discussion, philosophy, books, movies, mechanics, anything that gets the wheels turning. So shameless plug out of the way, let's contact myself from the parallel universe that is currently abiding in the magical Barlow Keith Prop Emporium. Back to you, me from another dimension. Yes, thank you, me from the dimension where I wear the only nice shirt I have. Welcome to the magical Barlow Keith Prop Emporium. And wow, today we're modern. Even what happened to my cat? All sorts of themes are being mixed here. Today we're talking about physical props, where the veil between the game and the real life really is the thinnest. Having real coins for your game can be really nice, but what I've come to discover is that players lose them a lot. To get proper nice quality coins is very expensive, and even though you don't have to fiddle with the eraser and rewrite your gold, you need a lot, especially in high level plays. So I like having some around, but it's not something that I would usually do. I use these coins as inspiration tokens. My friend uses them as some meta currency for communicating with death itself. And in games like Cthulhu Eternal, the wealth is abstracted, so you might use coins to represent how wealthy you are. One coin, you're like, average. 2 coins, you're more well-standing. 3 coins, you're a rich guy, you're eating fancy food. 4 coins, you own a penthouse in the middle of the city. So when you take away one of the coins or add it to the player's pile, they will really feel the impact. I'm not sure if they can be used like to represent hero points in Crown and Skull. I would have to see how I would do it in terms of like the denominations, but yeah, it's doable. But what I am doing in terms of money, and you're probably tired of me mentioning it, but we have a game that is based around alternate history of our own country, so I always carry this wallet with me, and in this wallet are historically accurate banknotes from that period of our history. So when we are playing Call of Cthulhu and one of the NPCs is giving some money to the players, I like to take the wallet out of my back pocket and count the money and then look at them, maybe haggle a little bit and then give them some money. Some of the players would even take out their wallet and put it inside, which is amazing. It's silly, but it adds to roleplay and special moments. I love it. So what are some props that are easy and cheap to make and are always welcome? Well, the thing is, you have to think in a cheap way. So you would be looking for things that you already have in your house and thinking of how you can integrate them into the game. One thing is, for example, I had these little glass bottles, and in one game there was a talk of this mysterious black goo that people are using to get high, of course. Naturally, it comes from a demon lord or something like that. So I just took some coloring and I filled these bottles. And you know how acrylic colors get all strange when they are dry? Well, I left this to dry and it created this very interesting effect. And when the players found it, I gave the bottles to them. So whenever they wanted to ingest it or research it, I would see them pick it up and look at it. I know that a lot of players don't do this, but how can they if you're not at least tickling this reflex of playing around with props? So I always encourage seeing if something in the game can be represented in some way in the real world. Another example of that is I had a bank heist in the last session and I bought the guide to heists in ttrpg, something like that. I will put the link to the drive-through page in the description. Doesn't really tell you how the players would enter the heist and how they would beat it, but that's the whole point. more on heists in one of the following videos, but there is a table there on which you roll to get some security systems that might be in the bank or whichever place. And there are medieval ones, there are futuristic ones. So I was rolling on the futuristic one and I got the DNA operated lock, which means you need some DNA samples to open a lock. Sounded interesting. What is the good DNA substitute? Well, hair. And I have some extra hair to spare, so I took a couple of strands of hair, cut them, and put them in the little bottle. Created a package, like a big envelope with all the maps for the heist and all the papers explaining the security systems, and I included this. Of course, the players were just like, what is this voodoo thing doing inside the package? So they were right away focused on this mysterious thing. And my wife actually asked, is this my hair? Are you doing some voodoo stuff with my hair? It piqued their interest. They wanted to go through the papers and see what is going on here. And that's what we were trying to do. Like, it narrows their attention onto this in-game thing. And you can feel the game like swallowing the real world a bit. Then another great example that I really love is there is this scenario called Blackwater Creek, also Call of Cthulhu. And please, D&D fans, don't click off just yet, because all of these things, all these concepts are like game agnostic. It just turns out that in Call of Cthulhu, because you don't have that many like magical things, I would generally lean towards making a lot of props as sort of a substitute. I don't know, it just feels right. So in this scenario, the players are tasked with going to this village and investigating a new and forbidden type of whiskey that is better than anything that exists in the world. One part of the players were employed by the mob, the other ones were employed by the cops, and they started working together until they solved the thing. So what I did was, I bought some beers and some real whiskey bottles, and they took this one empty bottle and filled it with juice. So there is variety. I found these designs for whiskey bottles and I changed them in Photoshop to be related to the in-game thing, and I printed them out, just removed the original labels, put them on. And the thing is, when my players were at the table, I would keep track from which bottle they would drink. If they drink from a bottle that is labeled like this, then nothing happens. But if they drink from the bottle that is labeled like this whiskey was known to cause like some extra nice effects like healing and giving you powers, but then you start to degrade and the corruption becomes too big. So they would drink, I would roll the dice, and I would kind of weave it into the story that something is changing with them. They thought it was the place itself, and the critical point when one of the players takes a sip, hears the dice, looks me in the eyes, takes another sip, sees me rolling the dice again. Oof. That moment when they realize that anything in the room might be a part of the game. That player looks at other players and says, I think we shouldn't drink this, and everybody just rewinds in their head what happened and starts like piecing together the puzzle pieces, and their mind is blown and my mind is blown. I know what to expect and still I feel that rush of energy that enters the room. So good. There is this other game that we played, and it was more like escape room type of thing. The players were locked in this haunted house and they had to figure out a way to escape. I had some printed handouts, and as they were exploring the house and reading the books and everything, I would give them to the players, and at one point they figured out there is a puzzle here. For them to escape the house and capture the big entity that is hunting them, they need to assemble like a circle made out of certain objects. To find those objects, they needed to find a certain code first. And I told them at one point, now you have 10 minutes to go around this apartment and find secret messages. After the 5-minute mark, something will happen. After the 10-minute mark, you can prolong the amount of time you're searching, but you will probably be in some trouble. And the big restriction was, don't move anything, just look around. Why? Because some of the objects had some messages hidden on them, but that was the second phase. In the first phase, just find the codes, and they scattered around the house. I took the speaker, I was running in between them, checking what they're doing. If they want to make a roll or something, I would like facilitate that. And then the 10-minute mark passed. They returned back and they were going through all the clues that they found. They were completely sucked in. And now when they were ready, they started exploring the in-game house. They come to the library inside the room in-game, and I describe what objects they see. I would give hints that the objects they're seeing in the room might be in my apartment as well. So they see a Caesar statue on a pedestal looking outside of the window, and one of the players remembers, oh, you have a 3D printed Caesar statue, don't you? Runs out of the room, finds this thing, and looks underneath, and there was a symbol here. Oh, the joy when they found it. But you can't just go and pick up every object, you need to find it in-game first. And there is a correlation between the object they find and where they find it in-game and where it is in the real world. So the library, it kind of points to this shelf, so the Caesar always sits somewhere on this shelf. But, for example, when they went into the bathroom in-game, there was this little potted plant. One of the players said, oh, you have a little IKEA potted plant in the bathroom. We ran out, found the plant. We weren't rolling for perception or anything. They just started figuring out that they know where to look. And they were finding the symbols, then they put everything onto the paper, did the puzzle. I just think it's very fun. And the players really loved it. You don't have to go complicated. Just make them like stand up, do some things. So, we asked the question again, how do you top this? Well, you don't have to. Just keep it on the same level and combine it with things from the previous videos. But I think one of the biggest things I've done so far is the DJ booth I made for the last sessions. So my players were in this underground club and people were just dancing. It's a bit of a futuristic type of thing. The DJs were playing some creepy electronic music, and at one point the players are attacked by these malicious mob people. Everybody knows that in this underground club firearms are forbidden, so everybody is equipped with like tasers, bats, pipes. At one point the DJ notices that something is happening in the crowd, there is some fighting going on. Takes out their own pipe, jumps into the crowd, pulls one of the players onto the stage and says, just continue doing whatever. At this point I tell to my players, now we move to the other room. We come into this room where I'm filming right now. I put the colors to like this party mode. The music is being loud, and here on this table was a contraption I made out of like the keyboard and some loopers and stuff, and some distortion was attached. So the player that was chosen by the DJ has to improvise something on the keyboard, and if that starts to make some musical sense, the rest of the players are rolling with advantage. And whenever the player that is playing gets tired and wants to switch, that player has 2 points of hype, as I called them. Basically, they can say that 2 rolls are maxed out for this encounter. In this way, I've made sort of like an incentive for them to swap. And it worked out great. Each of the rounds, one of the players wanted to try like playing something. And by the way, they're not musicians, so they were kind of experimenting, but it's the future. It's like dark electronic music. You can do whatever. So it was dynamic. Each round, one of the players wanted to swap. We went through all of the players. The encounter finished. We had a blast. It was so good. And first, I didn't think I would use like the proper keyboard. I wanted to use my soundboards. And if you haven't seen my videos about managing sound and DIY soundboards, I really recommend you watch it, and I really can't imagine myself running without these. I know this is not like the top 3 easy puzzles you can make for your players, or how to craft terrain that is also a puzzle, or things like that, but the internet is full of those things. I just wanted to share like my journey with props, and I really want to continue sharing these. So anytime I make some stuff, I will be posting it on Patreon, on Discord. I will be making more of these videos. So if you like what I'm doing, you want to see more of this, consider subscribing. It means a lot to me. It shows me that people are actually interested in the things that I'm doing. I mean, I would continue doing all of these things without YouTube, but my heart is full even if only a single person finds something useful or fun in these videos. So go roam around your house, look at your shelves, look at the things that you've never considered could be a prop, and try thinking of a way to make it a prop. And with that, I bid you
farewell, peoples. Thank you for all your support.